Hi, how's everybody going?
Give us your assessment going now into Saturday of how this has gone in spring ball so far.
For the team?
Yeah.
I think it's gone well. We've installed a lot. I mean, we installed before we got into spring ball, but I mean, you kind of reinstall it. But I mean, there's a difference between installing and walking through in the OTA type of ball and then going out and actually doing it in spring ball.
How forward are you looking to Saturday to play in front of people for the first time?
Good. I mean, it's been a while for me, but I've done it before. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like I say, it's all the young guys, you're just playing ball. So, I mean, whether you're playing in front of no people or a million, just playing ball.
How are you feeling?
Good. Thanks for asking. I'm feeling really good, actually.
Tell us a little bit about the scheme, because I've talked to some of the other linebackers, and a lot of opportunities seem like to make plays. But what have you seen from Coach Rossi's scheme?
It's similar in a way. I'd say that at least from what we've done, I like the complexity in terms of the looks that we give. We give a lot of different looks, and then we play a lot of different things. We got some guys. We have a really good room. I'm sure people have said that. I'm sure y'all seen it. We have a lot of guys that can play a lot of positions. We have guys playing different positions. So I think that and then having speed all over the field always plays a part in the modern game of football. But I think that the scheme. I mean, he's had success for a reason at Minnesota. I think he can do the same here.
How much of it's cerebral in terms of is it a thinking man's defense or more of a player's defense? Play and react defense.
I think at the end of the day, if you think too much, it'll slow you down. I think every defense nowadays, you have to be able to react. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the whole point of the game is the name of the game is to hit. But, you have to know what you have to do, and then you have to react off of that. So,
You've been around Jonathan Smith now 5 weeks. Can you
Yes.
draw an analysis of what kind of coach he'll be or what you can expect from him as the leader of this program?
I think he's very straightforward, very positive. The one thing that I can say, and I picked up early from when I met with him way back when he first got here, is he says what he means. He says what he means. There's not a lot of back and forth. Like if he says, I'm going out to dinner at 6, call me at 8. If you don't call him at 8, he'll be like, why didn't you call me? You feel me? He's very straightforward, and that's the best thing I could ask for in a coach.
Darius, staying with that, we've been talking about this open door policy, and there's talk that there's a real authentic open door policy. You can talk about anything. What's that like?
If I could put it into words, it's pretty much exactly like you said. I mean, if you want to speak to him, you go to Chaz, which is the assistant, but I mean, you just ask. Mm-hmm. I think that the term open door a lot of times is kind of loosely used. Mm-hmm. You say open door, but nobody's really ever at free. But I mean, like, he may be busy doing something, but if you want to go see him, he'll make time for you.
So how do you see that as a benefit for you, for the team overall?
That's obviously huge. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, you talk about the day-to-day, especially when we're not in spring football. Though you can go days, sometimes even weeks, without seeing the head coach. Wow. In the summer, for instance, because I mean, you don't really have team meetings. You meet with the position coach, and you see strength and conditioning coaches every day. But I mean, the head coach, they're around doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I mean, being able to see him pretty much whenever you want. I guess I say the biggest thing that helps with is it helps build like that camaraderie, that trust, because your word is your bond. So I mean, if you stand by your word, especially the earlier on you do, the bigger an impact you'll have.
What would you say is the buy-in level at this point? I guess after 13 practices, kind of seeing everything, how the program functions. I guess day to day.
I think it's quite high, high. I mean, the term buy-in to me, you can tell buy-in by how hard the players are playing. Because I mean, it's one thing to play hard for yourself, but it's another thing to respond and play hard. That's where you see buy-in, when the adversity hits, and then you see how people react. That's when you see buy-in. I think we've had some adversity in terms of things not going well offensively and defensively, but everybody's always coming back, playing the next play hard, and I think that the buy-in's quite high, because of that.
What took you back here? When you went into the portal, I guess, kind of what was that decision? How hard was that for you? And then what made the decision to come back ultimately the right one for you?
I mean, I kind of had selfishly, I wouldn't say selfishly, I had in my mind, I had already made my mind up at the end of the season I was going to enter it. And I mean, I talked to a few schools. My thing was, in my mind, and talking to my dad and my trainer back home, with the new staff and everything, it wouldn't be really different. If I go to a different school, I'd have to, create a new kind of friendship and understanding with the new coaches. And that's no different than what I'm doing here. And then just the difference is I don't gotta move all my stuff.
I would think academically too,
but-
because I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
you're on your advanced degree.
yeah. So I'm getting a master's in strategic communication. So this is currently the second semester of my fourth year. But in terms of classes, I'm close to like my fifth and a half. So I'll be getting my master's in December. I would get it earlier if I was allowed to, but we can only do the capstone in the fall. But I'll have 3 degrees after that. So
That's
I mean that helps a lot too. So I mean there's a lot of factors. At the end of the day, like I said, the coaches here, especially Coach Rossi, he was really straightforward when he came here. He said, "I view you as this," and that's what I've done.
What did he
That's
say?
what I've
What did he view you as when he said that?
He said originally he said that I view as an athletic backer. So I mean that's whether that's Will, Sam, and I've played a lot of Sam. I ended up speaking to him later, and he was like, "I think you'd be a great Sam. I think you'd be a great Sam." So I've done Will and Sam. I've done some third down stuff as well. But I think that Sam backer, outside backer, nickel type, pretty much what I was doing last time I got to play in 2021.
How similar are you as an athlete? How similar do you feel?
I'd say around now I'm around 90% to where I was, and which is good because this time last year I was not close to that at all. So I'd say that in terms of for me, the only thing for me is just getting the top speeds back up. The mental part never left, and that's probably the biggest thing, having the experience and understanding scheme and not just the defensive scheme, offensive schemes and how things work. That's always helped me.
How do you just sort of process last year, Darius? Because you tried to come back, you busted your tail, you did come back, and then things happen,
Yeah.
with the coaches, but also like you ended up missing a bunch of games too.
Yeah.
How's that season sit with you?
Yeah, it's one of those things you got to kind of just chalk off. I mean, you don't just forget about it, but I mean, you understand it didn't go well for me personally. I had a few setbacks physically that I had to bounce back from. But for me, I mean, at the end of the day, like my dad always says, work is work, and some work is just a different kind of work. So for me, last year was about getting back to being able to play, and I didn't really manage to do that until December, really. So now that I'm back able to play, now it's about just getting back to where I was and being even better.
Do you
That's
feel
the
like
goal.
you can get to 100% by the
100%, God willing.
Did you ever think you would get back to 100%?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in everything that was meant to happen will happen. And I mean, if I don't, then that means it just wasn't in God's plan. But I said one thing: I wasn't gonna let it be because I didn't do something.
When you look back, like how were you out there on the field last year? Like, do you feel like you should have taken more time, I guess, or were you not as
I
high
had
percentage as
some
you wanted?
I had some work to do, and I kind of just said, okay, well, I'm not there yet, but I can do it. And there's a difference between not being there and being able to do it, and actually being the one doing it. And I had some more work to do, and then I had some physical setbacks, and I was like, I got to get right, and I was able to get right, and now I can do that. So it's going well. It's going well.
Do you feel that this program has been re-energized, rejuvenated with the new coach and the new staff?
I think every not just football, but I think every brand, every company, whenever there's a change, there's that kind of rejuvenation, that kind of excitement, because it's new. It's new. I think that the big thing is it's sticking. It's sticking. So, like, every time when something new comes in, like, even if you get into a new relationship, it's exciting at first, you go to the honeymoon phase. Once you see some adversity and things don't go well, I mean, that's when you kind of see, like, how it really is. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, the buy-in. But, I mean, I'd say that it definitely, like, there's new little bounce. People are excited. We got some new faces around, some new faces coming in the summer. So I like what's going on.
Portal opens today. I mean, where do you feel the locker room stands on that? I mean, you feel like there's going to be a lot of retention, even with all the.
I can only assume. I haven't spoke to everybody, and I don't want to speak for everybody else. For me personally, I like where I'm at right now. So we'll just have to see. At the end of the day, whenever somebody asks me or if I'm giving advice to somebody else, I've always said, do what's best for you, but understand that what's best for you affects a lot of people around you. So, yeah. Sorry.
Do you think that message is resonating with your teammates and people?
I think so. I think so.
Sometimes when guys get injured or removed from the game for a little period of time, they kind of feel like they lose their identity. Did you ever feel that, or did you have like another outlet that you were able to kind of fall back on when times were tough?
I think the biggest thing with me personally is I I operate fast. Everything I do in life is fast. I even drive fast within the speed limit, of course. But I mean, when I've always been a pick up and move on person, and the people who know me and love me in my family, they kind of hate it because it's a lot like my dad. We don't really hold on to things, so we move on from things quickly. The problem with getting hurt is, I mean, it sticks with you physically. It's not something you can just move on from. So I mean, I like to operate fast, but I can't even walk. So for me, the most difficult thing, the thing that I struggled with the most, was kind of just adjusting to having to live slowly, and then not being able to work out was tough too. There was a lot of stuff that went into it, but I mean, the biggest thing with me, at least that got me through, got me where I'm at right now, is my faith in my family.
What's the low moment for you? What was the low moment?
The lowest moment, I think, and you never want to live in the past, because you live in the past, that brings up regret. And regret is the worst thing that you could ever do, because when you live in regret, you can never build for the future when you live in regret. I think that the biggest thing for me was the first month or a couple months before. It was about 3 weeks before I got my surgery. And then right after I got the surgery and I was in the wheelchair and on crutches, that was probably the lowest point, because up until that point, and it's so long ago, I had a great sophomore year and I had a great fall camp. A really good fall camp, and my end goal was to be able to play professionally, and I put myself into a position where I'd have an opportunity to do that had I performed that year, which I fully expected to do. And then kind of just saying that just go away at the just unfortunate circumstance in that game, having to accept that and understand that I got to get back to here, and knowing that was going to be a long process, one there was no end time stamp. I think that having to accept that was the hardest point.
How did it change your perspective on things?
To be more grateful, I'd say, overall. I think you take a lot of things for granted. Being able to run fast, being able to play this game at a high level is one thing, but I mean, just being able to walk downstairs, take my dog on a walk, couldn't even do that. Just being grateful for the things that you often take for granted is the one thing.
A lot of people thought 2 weeks later, I guess, was kind of the turning point of the program, essentially. I mean, the game at Washington, everything kind of fell apart after that. How much did that kind of also linger with you, I guess, while you're dealing with?
I mean, you never want to get beat. That's a great team.
But I mean, just the injury, I guess, and then compounding with the kind of the program kind of started its backslide.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I mean, you obviously know what happened, came out publicly, but I mean, there's more to it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I mean, I'm not one to speak on it, but it's just, like I said, it's one of those things you got to kind of just chalk off. I mean, don't forget it, but understand it happened and learn to move on. Just didn't work out for a lot of reasons. It's not just ball alone.
The two new guys in your room, what are you seeing from them?
Wayne and JT, ballers. But I love Wayne. To me, physically, reminds me a lot of before I got hurt. In terms of weight, speed, IQ, pretty much he reminds me a lot of myself before I got hurt, which is cool. And he plays similar positions too, which is ironic. JT's like, you see JT looks like an NFL linebacker. He's built enormous. But I mean, both of them are cool guys. Most importantly, but I mean, they can play ball. So I'm glad they're in the room. Like I said before, the entire room is solid.
You can sense more depth there at linebacker.
Yeah. And we got guys that can do different things. The versatility is out the world. I mean, it's really. I think it'll be a great year from the room, personally.
When you said you're at 90%, I imagine when you're on the field or looking at film, you can see where you're getting to point A to point B better than last year. Is that gratifying to know you can? Am I wrong about that? You're moving quicker now?
Yeah. I wish I could show you. I mean, you'll see on Saturday. I'm moving around. I'm playing ball. This past Saturday, I had one play off the edge where I was able to shed a block and get a TFL. And I got up and I came to the sideline and Chuck's like, "Hey, that looked like Darius Snow." I was like, "Yeah, man." So I'm playing ball. So I mean, I'll be able to show that on Saturday. But I'm excited.
What have the scrimmages been like to see this all at live action, tempo, and everything for you guys?
So the defense has done really well in the two scrimmages. We've got the ball out a few times. And I mean, offense has made some plays too. It's competitive. Guys running around, playing ball, playing fast. it's entertaining. I mean, from when I'm on the sideline watching, trying to coach up the guys, I mean, it's entertaining. And then when I'm in there playing hard, running to the ball, everybody runs to the ball, offense running hard. It's competitive. It's fun.
What do you feel like you guys as a unit have made progress from like that first day, just learning
As a defense?
Yeah.
I think
live
we're
action.
becoming more confident in the defense, and you can tell because the volume picks up as people become more confident. I think the first couple of days, like, people were calling it, but I mean, a lot of times, like, if you know but you don't really know, like, say we're in a cover 2 concept to this side, if you don't really know, sometimes you may just signal it. You're not really yelling, but if you know it, you yell it and you signal it, and you can start to see that across the field. So I think that everybody kind of understands to this point, and it's going well.
Does it feel like a lifetime ago you first got to college?
I'm not that old. I was a shot, man. I just turned 22. I wouldn't say a lifetime. I think COVID made it seem a lot longer than it was, but I mean.
This guy covered your dad when he was in high school.
Really? Oh man.
When
See,
he
he
was
got
recruited.
30 years on me, so I ain't that old. That was a shot. That was a shot. That was a shot.
Point guard,
Yeah, nah. He was a scorer in high school. He came to college, became a passer.
Right.
Not that I saw his high school highlights. He just likes to tell me.
He
So
and Sean West
word of mouth.
flipped.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. One
Yeah.
was a defensive player. What do your teammates say about a guy with 3 degrees?
Well, I don't have it yet. I fully anticipate having those. And one technically is a graduate certificate. So on the email and the notes, it says degree, so I call it a degree. Manny likes to argue with me on that. But I think that for me personally, and just talking to people, it looks like somebody who's not necessarily the smartest. I mean, I like to consider myself smart, but they're just on top of their stuff. The one thing I've said about college, if you fail classes, that's on you. Nobody, if you fail a class, it's not because of how smart you are, because of all the help that you get. So I think that it's about application and being able to, I'd say, just work hard.
It's like football, got to put in the work.
Exactly.
So
And
you-
everything, how you work is in anything is how you work in
So
everything.
you've been here for a few years. You have perspective on players and improvements and so forth. Who are some players that you've seen on either side of the ball that have shown some improvement this spring that caught your eye?
I think young JT, so on the D line, Jalen Thompson. I think that he's done a solid job. He reminds me of Chris Bogle. I've known Chris since middle school, so I mean he reminds me of him a lot. Obviously from different places, but I think he's done well. I think D Harm can be an All-American. I think D Harm and Sim can be All-Americans, and I tell them that frequently. They have the size too, they have the power too, and they have the know-it-all to do that. But I say the guy that's made the most improvement, and I wouldn't even say improvement. I think he had some injuries, but he's been able to showcase it. Is Alante. I think Alante, and just talking to Coach Adams, I love talking to Coach Adams. I said, who you think the best receiver? He said, I'll get back to you on that. And I asked him a week later, and I was like, who you think the best receiver? And he was like, 0. So I said, Alante. He said, yeah, him. I like him. I said, yeah, I like him too. He's a good ball player. I've known Alante for a minute too. So, yeah.
Who did you say was on the sidelines at the scrimmage that said, like, D's nose back? Who was that?
Chuck.
Chuck?
But me and Chuck, that's my little bro.
Okay.
That's my little bro. We be going back and forth all the time.
Is